Welcome to this video on top 30 Power Apps interview questions and answer for TCS interview preparation 2025. So if you are preparing for a TCS interview, this guide will help you to master the most commonly asked scenario based questions. Whether you are a fresher or experienced, these answers will give you the confidence to crack your interview. So let's get started. First question is, what is Power Apps and how does it fit into the Microsoft Power Platform? So Power Apps is low code, no code application development platform that is allowed to user to build a custom business application quickly. It integrates seamlessly the other Power Platform services like Power Automate that is basically used for the workflow, Power BI that is used for the analytics, and Dataverse. Dataverse is nothing but a data storage. Organization use the Power Apps to digitize the manual process. It also improves the productivity and it provide the capability to connect to hundred of data sources. It supports the Canvas app for the flexible UI and model driven for the data centric solutions. In this, you can also create the portals that is used for the external users. So basically, it makes a versatile tool for the enterprise digital transformation. What is the difference between the Canvas app, model driven apps, and the Power App portals? So Canvas app basically gives the developer to complete control over the app's layout. Here developer can make the design and it is ideal for the highly customized user interface. Whereas model driven apps are built on the data verse and it automatically generates the UI on the base of the data model. There is also enterprise workflow with the complex relationships. Power Apps portal extends the functionality to the external users. It allows the customer and partners to interact with data securely with the web portals. So these all types basically serves the canvas for the flexibility, model driven for the structured enterprise apps, and portal for the external engagement. So whenever you are going to develop the project, you need to choose the right type. Explain the delegation in the Power Apps, why it is important for the larger data set. So basically delegation refers to the pushing data processing task to the data source rather than retrieving all records locally. So all the burden will become on the data source here. And why it is critical? It is critical to work with the large data set where we have the around 50 more than 50,000 records. It is used because non-delegable queries can cause the performance issue or are incomplete results. So we need to use the functions like start with and filters that are the delegable functions, while others like len are not delegable functions. So developer must design the apps using the delegable query to ensure the scalability and accuracy in the applications. If you are ignoring the delegation, then it can lead the apps fail in the production environment and you can face the issue in the real data volume. Suppose your apps is connected to the SharePoint that is having the 50,000 record and its performance is slow. How do you optimize the performance? So for that, first you need to ensure that the queries are delegable so that the filtering happens at the SharePoint server level only. You should use the index column in the SharePoint to speed up the query and limit the number of records loaded into the gallery by using the first 10 or the pagination logic. Here preload only essential data in the on start and use the lazy loading for the gallery. So you should consider the moving data to the dataverse if the data set is complex and require the enterprise grade performance. So in the dataverse you will find the good performance. So this combination of delegation, indexing and optimized data source selection is ensure that you will get the smooth performance in the application. There is a scenario based question that a client want a multi-step approval process for expense claims. How would you design this? So for designing it, we need to choose the Canvas app for the employee to submit the expense claims. Record can be stored in the Dataverse or the SharePoint. Power Automate flow will be triggered on the submission and for the routing approval to the managers, and then it will route to the finance and finally compliance if needed. So each step status would be updated in the record that will be visible in the app. Notification will should also be sent to the approvers via the emails or the teams. So it will ensure the transparency, auditability, and the automation of the entire approval lifecycle. This app you can also use to create the dashboard for the tracking the pending and the approved claims. Suppose there is a sales team that need the offline access to the customer data. How would you implement that one? So offline capability can be achieved by using the save data function and the load data function. So whenever it comes online, the app automatically saves the customer record into the local collection. And when it is offline, then app loads data from the device storage and it will allow the sales representative to view and update the records. So once connectivity is restored, the changes are synced back to the server using the patch function. And it ensures that business continuity even in the area with the poor connectivity never stop. So it will keep continue. So especially it is useful for the field sales team that is working on the remote regions. How do you trigger a Power Automate flow from the Power App? So you can integrate the Power Automate directly with the Power Apps and you can create the flow and you can export it as a connector. So in the app you can call the flow by using the run method and you need to pass the parameter. So syntax will be similar to set where result and the send mail flow. Suppose the name of the flow is send mail flow dot run. Then you need to pass the user dot email, then subject, then body. So you can pass your whatever parameter required to your Power Automate flow. It will allow Power Apps to handle the complex workflow like sending mail, updating the external system or the approval. And it bridges the gap between the app's front end and the back end automation. And definitely it will make the app so much powerful. How do you secure sensitive data in the Power App? So security is enforced at a multiple level in the Power App. Data was provide the role-based security and the role-level permission. Whereas environment variable ensure the sensitive values like API key are not hard-coded. You can also implement the DLP policy that prevent the unsafe connector combinations. And authentication can be handled by using the Azure AD that ensure that only authorized users can access the app. Sensitive data should never be stored in the collections or exposed in the client-side logic. This layered approach ensures the compliance with the enterprise standards like GDPR or the HIPAA. How do you manage app deployment across dev environment, test environment, and the prod environment? So deployment is basically managed by using the solution in the Power Platform. Developers can build the apps in the dev environment. It will be packaged and exported. So the solution can be imported in the test environment for the validation and finally into the prod environment for the end users. Environment variables are used to handle the difference like API URL or the connection string. LM pipelines can also be automated to process for the large enterprise. So it will basically ensure the consistency, version control, and the governance across the environment. A retail client wants a mobile app for the inventory management with the barcode scanning. How would you build it? So I will choose the Canvas app template here for making that barcode scanner control to scan the product code. The app can connect with the Dataverse or the SharePoint to fetch the product detail and update the stock level. Employee can also view the inventory in the gallery. It can be filtered on the base of category, and it can also update the quantity using the forms. We can utilize the Power Automate here to send the low stock alert to the managers. So this solution basically detect the inventory tracking, reduce the manual errors, and provide the real-time visibility. It's a common real use case that demonstrates the Power Apps flexibility. How do you connect Power Apps to external API? So Power Apps can be connected with the external API by using a custom connector in the Power Platform. In this, the connector defines the API endpoint authentication method. Authentication method can be any type OAuth or API using API key and the request response schema. So once it will get published, connectors can be used inside the Power Apps just like any other data source. For example, you could integrate a weather API to show live forecast in your app. This approach basically ensures the secure, reusable, and the scalable integration across the multiple apps. What are the environment variables and why are they important? So environment variable basically store the configuration values such as API URL, connection string, tenant ID outside the app logic. It allows the app to move between the different environments, dev environment, test environment, production environment without hard coding any sensitive value. So dev environment might use a test API endpoint, whereas production always use the live endpoint. So by referencing the environment variables, you can ensure the flexibility, security, and the easy governance. An environment variable is also essential for the application life management cycle. Explain how DLP policy work in the Power Platform. So basically DLP policy control the connectors to use that together in the apps and the flow. They prevents the unsafe data movement between the business and the non-business system. Suppose a policy might allow SharePoint and the Dataverse connectors but block the combining them with the Twitter or the Gmail. This ensures that the sensitive corporate data does not leak to personal or the insecure services. Admin can configure the DLP policy by using the Power Platform Admin Center, and this will definitely going to enforce the compliance across the organizations. How do you implement the conditional formatting in the gallery? So conditional formatting in the gallery can be achieved by setting the property like template fill or color based on the item value. For example, overdue task can be highlighted into the red by using this example template fill equal to if this item dot due date is less than today, then it will color as a red, otherwise it will color it as a white. By this way the UI will be more intuitive, that will be easily visualized by distinguishing the different records. So it is mainly used in the dashboards, task list or the approval apps to improve the user experience. How do you validate the user input? Like phone number or the emails. So validation can be done by using the function isMatch with the regular expressions. Suppose you want to validate the 10-digit mobile number, then you will use this example isMatch, and you need to insert the text area value text input phone dot text and the regular expression. You can display that error message using the labels auto notify. So again, it is going to ensure the data integrity before the submission. So validation is definitely critical for any enterprise apps where the incorrect data can cause the downstream errors in the workflow auto reporting. How do you implement the multi-language support in the Power App? So multi-language support is achieved by storing the translation in a table like SharePoint, Dataverse or the Excel. Each record will contain the key, language code and the translated value. So by this way, the app will look up the translation based on the user language preference. The function will be like this one: lookup, then translations key equal to submit and language equal to user language dot value. It will allow the same app to serve users across the different geographies. It is especially important for multinational clients like those TCS serves. What are the reusable components and how do you share them across apps? So reusable components are the custom UI or the logic block which is built and can be shared across multiple apps. These are stored in the component libraries. For example, a branded header or the date picker can be created as a component and it can be reused in the complete application. So it will ensure the consistency in the design, reduce the duplication of the effort. So updates of the component library automatically propagate to all apps using it and it will improve the maintainability. How do you design the dynamic forms that show height fields based on the user input? So dynamic forms basically use the conditional visibility and each control visual property is set based on the user selection. So suppose we need to set the visual equal to if drop down dot type dot selected dot value is equal to imply, then visual should be true, otherwise it should be false. So by this way, the form will adopt the different scenarios such as showing additional field for the managers. It also improves the usability by reducing the clutter and guiding the users to provide the relevant information only. How do you handle a large scale deployment for Power Apps or the enterprise clients? So large scale deployment is done by using the ALM practice. Apps can be packaged into the solution, it can be tested in the staging environment and deployed in the production. Here the environment variable handle the configuration differences, governance policies ensure the compliance and the security. And the monitoring tools basically track the usage and the performance. So for multinational companies, deployment pipelines automate the rollout across the multiple regions and it ensures the consistency, scalability and the minimal downtime. What governance practices would you recommend for a multinational client using the Power Apps? So governance would include clear environment strategy, development test prod, DLP policy, and a role-based access. Naming convention and documentation should be standard. Admins should monitor the app usage and the connected activity via the platform admin center. Regular audits should happen so that compliance and the industry regulations should be followed. Time by time training and the support structures help the people to adopt the apps. So here basically governance balance the innovations with the control. A healthcare client needs HIPAA compliant apps. How would you ensure that compliance? So compliance requires the strict data security. Using the data was we can use the role-based access and the role-based role level security. It will ensure that all the authentications would happen via the Azure AD. DLF policy should be implemented that will block the unsafe connectors, and it will store the audit logs for all data changes. We should avoid to storing any PHI in the collections or the client side variables. So partners with the compliance teams to validate these structures. This will ensure that apps meet the HIPAA standard. A banking client wants audit trails for the loan approvals. How do you implement this one? So loan approval records can be stored into the dataverse with the fields of approvers, timestamp, and the status. So whenever any change occur by triggering the Power Automate flow, then it will log the details into the audit table. And the app will display the audit history in a gallery for the transparency. Role-based access will ensure that only authorized users can view the audit log, and it provides the complete trail for the compliance and the accountability. Consulting firms want a client portal. How do you build it? So I will use the Power App portal here to create the secure external facing website, and the client authentication will be done by using the Azure AD, B2C or the other identity providers. In this portal will connect to the Dataverse, and it will display the project data, invoice and the support ticket. Liquid templates or the CSS customize the UI. Power Automate can be used to notify the consultant when the client submit any new request. So by this way, it will provide a professional self-service experience to the clients. How do we embed the Power BI dashboard in the Power App? Power BI tile control can be used in the Canvas app. So it provides the workspace ID and the report ID to embed the dashboard. In this, users can interact with the visuals directly inside the app, and it is useful for the scenario like sales dashboard or the inventory monitoring. So Power BI embedding can bring the advanced analytics into operational apps, enabling data-driven decisions without switching the platform. How do you manage the app versioning? So app versioning can be managed by using the solutions. Any update creates a new version that can be exported and imported. In this, developers can maintain the version history of the source control system using the Azure DevOps. Rollback is also possible by re-importing the previous versions. So documentation and the release notes should be clearly maintained for each version. By this way, it will ensure the traceability and the stability in the enterprise environment. How do you design a safety incident reporting app for the manufacturing? So basically, this type of app allow the workers to log the incident via the forms, capturing details like locations, severity, and the photos. So in the app, record will be stored in the dataverse, and Power Automate will be used to notify the supervisors immediately. Conditional formatting should be highlighted and for the high severity incidents. Dashboard can be utilized to track the incident trends for the management. An offline capability will ensure that reporting even in the area without connectivity, so that app performance should not degrade. So it will digitize the safety process and it will improve the response time. How do you implement the offline capability in the Power App? So offline capability basically use the save data and load data function. In this, data are stored into the device when it is online, and when it is offline, then app loads data from the local storage. All the apps, all the updates are cached in the collections, So once connectivity is restored, the changes are passed back to the server. It will ensure the uninterrupted usage in the field scenario, like sales and the maintenance. And it is critical mobile apps data used into the remote area. How do you monitor the app usage and the performance? So monitoring can be done by using the Power Platform Admin Center, where admin can view the analytics of the app usage, admin can view the active users and the connector activity. Telemetry data highlights the performance bottlenecks. Integration with the Azure Monitor provides the deeper insights. So regular review basically helps to identify the underused apps or the potential optimization whichever app is required. So monitoring is definitely going to ensure that app remain efficient and it's aligned with the business goals. How to design an inventory app with low stock alerts? So app would display the inventory in a gallery that will be connected with the dataverse. And the conditional formatting will be applied that will highlight the low stock items. For alert or notification, we will use the Power Automate that will send the notifications by using the emails or the team notification whenever stock get falls between the below the threshold. Managers can view the dashboard of the stock trends and they can ensure that proactive inventory management and reduce the stock outs. How do you handle the app deployment pipeline in the enterprise clients? So app deployment in the enterprise clients is managed through the application life management cycle. It basically recommends the approach to package the apps, flows and components into the solution, then which can be exported to the development environment and imported into the test and the production environment. Environment variables can be used to handle the difference such as API endpoint or the connection string. And for the large organizations, deployment pipeline can be automated using the Azure DevOps or the GitHub Actions. So it will ensure the version controls, rollback capability, and the consistent governance. This structured pipeline is going to reduce the risk, enforce compliance, and it allow the enterprise to scale power of deployment across multiple regions and the business units seamlessly. So thanks for watching this video. To wrap up, we have covered the top 30 Power Apps interview questions and answers that are commonly asked in the TCS interview. So remember, whenever you are going for an interview, the TCS focus mainly on the scenario-based answer. So always connect your responses to the real world use case. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more interview preparation guides. And drop a comment below telling me which company you are preparing for, TCS, Infosys, Accenture, or Wipro. And I will create the more targeted contents for you. So best of luck for your interview.